Hi guys, welcome to the channel or welcome back to the channel. My name is Crystal and today we're talking about books. Okay, before I start this video though, I have to be honest with you guys, I don't usually read this much. I think it's probably because of this mindset that I have for school. I'm really trying to avoid all the schoolwork possible and I still want to feel productive though, so I turned to books. This is already like a pretty good record for me. But yeah, enough rambling, let's just move on to the very first book. So the first book I have with me is Hunger by Roxane Gay. I remember picking this book up when I was on exchange in the US. At that time, I was either binge eating super fatty food or I was skipping meals, so it was a bad state. And I was doing research online, came across this, and I bought it, but I did not pick it up until September this year. Probably I was struggling with body issues again. It's actually something that I struggle with more than I want to, and it's still constantly coming back, so this book is basically a memoir of her body. The whole incident started when she was gang raped when she was a teenager, and that has left a very traumatic experience for her. And ever since then, she had this mindset where she gets bigger and she would be more invisible to the world, and therefore she would be safer. It doesn't have a very bright ending. It's not going to tell you, oh yay, we successfully lost weight and you can do it too. No, it's not like that. It's simply just her story and she is recalling everything that happened to her. And I feel like sometimes we don't need encouragement at the end. It is just seeing how a person has gone through everything and still be able to stand up like this. I respect. Yeah, so rating time, I would give this a 4 out of 5 stars. As a nonfiction, it is honestly pretty good. I did learn a lot. Before I wrap this book up, I just want to give you guys a quote. So this book is, I made myself bigger, I made myself safer. That's it. Hunger by Roxane Gay. Next. The second book is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I'm just gonna start off by saying that this is a 5-star for me. Highly recommend. I love this. Yeah, so I picked this book up when I was probably still in secondary school. I was in a very emo phase, so every single book with a black and red cover would catch my eye. It is a very shallow thing to do, but I'm so glad I did because I love this. This book is basically about a night circus that just pops up from nowhere, and it serves as a venue for 2 magicians who are bound for life by a duel. So this is like where they compete against each other. But yeah, you would think that, oh, it's such a big romance book, but not really, because the book started when they were still kids. Speaking of characters, there are so many different characters in the book. Usually I hate it when that happens because my pea brain cannot comprehend, but this book slowly introduces every single one of the characters, so I was able to know their past, their personalities as well. Everything makes sense. I did not feel like I had to catch up and stuff. It was good. And it's also very clever. The way just everything and everyone intertwines, but in the end somehow they can be tied together. As far as I remember, there were no loose ends, so clever. Love this. Also, the writing. It's magical. The atmosphere, the ambience, the vibe. I was so into it. I remember towards the final few chapters, I even went on to YouTube and I was searching the Night Circus playlist. I was listening to the songs while reading it. It was such a page turner towards the end. Love this. I'm going to do this over and over again, and I highly recommend you guys doing this as well. Yeah. A quote from the book would be, people see what they wish to see, and in most cases what they are told that they see. Surprisingly, this is something that came up a lot in other books that I read as well. So maybe the things that are intertwining are not just the characters, but also a sign in my life. Just kidding. Alright, the third book is Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. Let's just say that I'm blown away by this book. I also later found out this is Harry Styles' favorite book, so high five. Yeah. Actually, I'm not going to dive into too big of a summary over here. I'm just gonna read the very short introduction. So Toru is in love with Naoko, the girlfriend of his best friend Kizuki, but then Kizuki actually committed suicide and killed himself very early on in the story, so it's not a spoiler. But as you can tell, this book is not something that makes you super happy and bubbly and positive. No, none of that. If anything, it just made me extra depressed. But I enjoyed every single bit of it because it made me feel a lot. Yeah, when I first started reading the book, I remember sending a lot of quotes that I find relatable to my friends, which, now that I'm saying this, I think I have issues, because like, why would I find a book like this relatable, you know? Anyways, so yeah, I got my friends into reading this book together with me as well. It was great. I understood why people like going to book clubs now, because it would be a torture for you to read something so nice but not be able to talk about it. So overall, it's a great experience. The writing was very lyrical, beautiful. Love this. But the only thing that I don't really like would be the way he talks about women. I think a lot of people have already addressed this. He just writes it very explicitly. And there would be moments when I go like, you know, yeah. But overall, I understand why people love him and love his writing. I'm going to read Kafka on the Shore after the semester is done. So my friends, if you're free, please read it with me, because I think I would want to talk about it again. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it like that. 4 out of 5 stars. Alright, and the next one we have The Passenger by Ulrich Alexander Boschwitz. I hope I'm saying this correctly. Basically, this is about a Jewish businessman, Silberman, who was trying to escape from Nazi Germany. And then he ended up going on a very long train ride all over the country, but it was not a good ending, as you can tell by, you know, it's a historical fiction, what do you expect? And Nazi Germany, come on. I won't be able to give you guys too much of a detailed review on the book. I don't think I'm going to do it justice, because I was still in a very depressed state from Norwegian wood. So when I was reading this, half of my brain was not with me. So instead of the plots, I'm just going to tell you something that left a very huge impression on me, and that was how Silberman really held onto his briefcase full of money, even though he was running away for life, basically. It was a life and death situation, and he still believed that, oh, money is going to get me somewhere. Stuff like this. So it was like a big blow to me. One quote from the book though: "But perhaps they'll carefully undress us first and then kill us so our clothes won't get bloody and our banknotes won't get damaged. These days, murder is performed economically." This is what we're getting into. See how dark that is. The next book is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. She has such a big fan base, so she's a legend. So many people love her, but to be very honest, I have never read anything by her. I've only watched the movie The Murder of the Orient Express when I was really little, which means I did not really understand what was going on. Back to this book. I picked this up simply because it was spooky Halloween season, so I read it very quickly, actually. One problem about this book though is something that I mentioned just now, that is, I don't like it when there are so many characters in a book, because I cannot catch up. And she very quickly introduced all 10, 12 characters in the very beginning of the book, which were like an overwhelming amount of information for me. So took me a little bit of time to get used to the characters, but slowly as I was reading it, it was fine. Would I reread this? No, simply because it is not something that I gravitate towards the most. But if you're into murder mysteries and you want to get into the zone for Halloween next season, go for it. Overall, 3.5 out of 5 for me. Yeah. Next, we have The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This book is basically about Nora, who has lost hope in her life, and she tried to commit suicide in the very beginning of the book. But then she ended up being in a place in the library. Yeah, a place between life and death. It's a library, and the library is full of books of all her possible lives in other universe. maybe, yeah. But I would say that this book is very predictable, kind of repetitive, and to me it's a little bit too corny, so I don't think I'm going to reread this. But if you're looking for consolation, peacefulness, calmness, you know, go for it. Yeah. I'm just gonna dive straight into the quotes because I don't have too much to share. It would just be best for you to read it by yourself. Yeah. So the first one, want is an interesting word. It means lack. Sometimes if we feel that lack with something else, the original want disappears entirely. Maybe you have a lack problem rather than a want problem. Maybe there's a life that you really want to live. That's the first one. The second one is a very me quote. Disobedience is the true foundation of liberty. The obedience must be slaves. This is so me. I'm just gonna leave it like this. Oh yeah, 3.5 stars out of 5. Next. We're getting quicker because I'm tired. We have the lost connection. See how stable my mental state was. Of course, this is a non-fiction, but I would still give it a pretty high rating. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. It basically talks about how depression and anxiety is not just something wrong with your brain. Mostly it's about the stories, the experience that you have been through, which is also a very recurring theme that I'm sensing from all the books that I'm reading. Yeah. I like this book because it is not purely scientific. The writer's personal experience is also recounted a lot, and they use so many different examples of people from different walks of life, you know? So it is not solely focusing on people from a certain class, from a certain country. They also address a lot of lost connections, basically how people become disconnected to one another, and why connection is the thing that brings us back together, and which leads us to a happier life, stuff like this. Is it very vague? A little bit, but this is probably the least vague nonfiction book about mental health that I read. Yeah. I would really recommend this if you're trying to look for something about mental health issues, or if you or some of your friends are struggling. You don't have to read this in one go. I did not. I probably read this over the course of 1 to 2 months as well. So yeah. My friend saw me reading this and she was like, oh, can I borrow this after you're done? Yes, of course. Here you go. Take it. Okay. I'm so tired. Okay, the next one we have The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Okay, whatever. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing these wrong. I tried. Okay, so this Alchemist book is actually a fiction, but it reads more like a self-help book. In fact, even though I'm not a religious person, I'm not a Christian, I feel like maybe this is how you feel when you read a Bible, something like this. It is very spiritual, and it basically talks about... Wait, maybe I should just read this. It tells the mystical story of Santiago, a shepherd boy who yearns to travel in search of a worldly treasure. And this treasure is basically like your inner power, your spirituality, like I don't know, some sort of pursuits in life. Yeah. I remember going through the comments on Goodreads before getting this book myself. I see that there are a lot of like very diverse comments. People either give it 5 stars or like 1 star. Yeah. It is going to be a reread for me. If you're not sure whether or not you want to pick this up, go to YouTube. I believe that there are a lot of video summary of this book, and you can see if this is up your alley before purchasing the book. I would just say that if you're looking for something very practical, looking for instructions like do this for the next step in your life, then this is definitely not it. It is more like giving you encouragement and telling you that it's okay for you to be stuck at the present like moment, and you will be fine in the end, something like this. So to me, it's fine. It's also a very fast read, so I would not mind picking this up again in the future, just in case I need some sort of encouragement. Yeah, so this is The Alchemist. I would give it a 5 out of 5 stars, and let's move on to the next one. we have The Inner Room by Robert Eckman. I picked this up because it's a short story and also because of Halloween. This is basically about a sinister gothic dollhouse, and it's a spooky tale. Overall, I'm giving this a 3.5 out of 5 stars because the writing is great, but also hard to understand because it is written in some sort of Old English. So if you're not into the literary devices, if you're not into like inversions and stuff like that, probably this is not for you. I would just use the word eerie to describe the general ambiance of the book. But I don't think I'm going to pick this up again, simply because it's a challenge to my brain, and I would rather read something that is more bubbly because, you know, my mental state is already not very healthy. If I keep reading stuff like this, it's going to explode very soon. Oh my god, I was not recording the whole time. Thank god it was a short book. This one. Okay, Mr. Salary by Sally Rooney. So Sally Rooney is an author that is becoming super popular these days. I see that a lot of people are becoming a big fan of hers, and I totally understand why. The way she characterized each of the character in her stories are very clever. I read Normal People by her probably two years ago, and I remember I really enjoyed it, but maybe I should pick it up again. I also want to read the new novel of hers, Beautiful World, Where Are You, I think. Yeah. Going back to this though, it is more like a modern contemporary story comparing to the last one, The Inner Room. So this is a lot easier for me to follow. And I think it's a very short read. There are only, what, like 33 pages and the spacing is like this big. So it took me a very short time, probably just a bus ride, for me to finish reading the whole thing. Did I enjoy it? Yes. The only thing that is not so nice about it is that in the end, like, it is not a very completed ending. If there was a longer version of the book, I would definitely be happy to read it. That's it. So Sally Rooney, I understand why people love this. Alright. Ooh, just got a message from my friend that something we ordered online arrived. So guess what? Yeah, I'm exposing myself again. Alright, we're moving on to the final book that I actually completed in the semester, and that is Damien by Hermann Hesse. I hope I'm reading this name right again. Why am I so bad at names? But yeah, this is basically a tale about light and darkness, goodness and evil, you know, stuff like this. Did I enjoy this? I would just give it a 3.5 out of 5 because I don't think I'm going to pick this up again, but it is a good place to start if you're trying to read a classic. Oh, actually, why did I pick this up is because of BTS. It's Blood, Sweat, Tears. You know that one. So, wow, see? BTS is making me read classics now. You should try. For the book though, I like how I can really follow the growth of the main character all the way from him being a little kid to like a young adult. I can see how he struggled, but at the same time, I did not really enjoy the way everything is portrayed because, okay, how the book is like it's, I'm so lost. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so sad. Oh, I'm not the pure innocent guy I used to know. And then the other person will be like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just a life lesson that you have to go through, and then blah 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 blah, 2 pages. It reads like a Q&A with a little bit of a plot. So and that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people love this. That's why it's a classic, you know, but I have the right to voice my own opinion, and I would only give this a 3.5 out of 5, and I don't think I would be rereading this. Yes. There's another thing, how can I forget about this? We have this Abraxas god, who embraces both good and evil. And I think this is the biggest lesson that I got. Probably it would be a lot better for you to just go on to another video to look up some more detailed analysis of the book, because I feel like I am doing such a bad job in reviewing this. I'm tired, guys. It's been a lot of books. Guys, so I was editing the video and I forgot that I also read Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stones. This is actually my first time reading it. Don't judge me, but yeah, who needs a review? 4.5 out of 5. That's it. Bye. So that's all. I hope you guys are not too bored by the entire video. I probably did a little bit of an editing here and there because I don't want to bore you. I don't want to make the whole video too long. Probably it's already super duper long, but if you're watching up till this point, thank you so much. I really appreciate this, and please let me know if you have any other book recommendations, or maybe just tell me about how you think about the books that I mentioned. Yeah, so that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys again next week. Bye!